Discovered. My daughter's incredible 3M sale left me with a touching 16,000 check to start anew. In an unassuming suburban neighborhood, where the sun often hid behind clouds of uncertainty, Jack struggled beneath the weight of expectations. As a mechanic running a small shop that teetered on the edge of collapse, the pressure mounted daily. He worked long hours, grease-stained hands and tired eyes. Yet, despite the hardships, his heart soared with love for his daughter Emily. She was the light in his shadowed world, a bright young woman with a keen eye for hidden treasures, beaming with potential. One fateful Saturday, Emily returned from a local garage sale, brimming with excitement. "Dad, you won't believe what I found," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling like stars in a night sky. She had unearthed a unique vintage piece, a brooch that whispered stories of a bygone era. Jack smiled, pride swelling in his chest as she described its intricate details, how it seemed to glow with history. Never could he have imagined that this small discovery would change their lives forever. A few months later, they found themselves wrapped in disbelief as Emily auctioned the brooch for an astounding $3 million. The news rippled through their tight-knit community like thunder, igniting bursts of joy, admiration until it didn't. Suddenly whispers became louder. The envy crept in like weeds through a beautiful garden. Jack watched as neighbors cast sidelong glances filled with suspicion and resentment. Instead of celebration, jealousy marred what should have been a moment of unbridled joy. He walked the familiar streets. Whispers taunted him. How could a mechanic's daughter pull off something like that? He felt the air grow heavy on his chest. Was he enough? Did he prepare Emily for this world filled with judgment? The tiny victory that brought Emily such happiness now cast a shadow over Jack's heart. With every glance, he could almost hear the chorus of their discomfort at home. The distance between Jack and Emily began to grow. Once upon a time conversations transformed into muted exchanges. She spoke of new opportunities and parties, while he felt lost in a world that now seemed so foreign. The bond they shared felt strained. Jack wanted to celebrate, but he was haunted by the lingering doubt of what it meant to be a father. Was he meant to guide her, or was he merely a backdrop to her newfound life? Then came the moment of revelation, when on a quiet night Emily placed a check for $16,000 into her father's hands. Tears glistened in her eyes as she explained it stood for his unwavering support. It represented a chance to start anew, free from judgment and envy. Her gesture was rooted in love, speaking volumes that words could not express. At that moment, Jack felt a flicker of hope rekindle within him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Feeling a spark of determination, Jack reflected on Emily's generous gift. He needed to reclaim his sense of dignity, to speak out against the whispers that seemed to suffocate him. In front of their neighbors he stood tall, reminding them that character, love and resilience were far more valuable than financial success. As he shared their journey, he felt the warmth of community love that once existed. Could he redefine what success meant, or would the shadows of envy continue to cloud their future? The uncertainty hung thick in the air, waiting for their next move. The morning sun peeked cautiously through the curtains, casting warm patterns on the kitchen table as Jack took a seat, still grappling with the enormity of what had unfolded. The $16,000 check lay beside his coffee mug, a tangible reminder of both hope and change. His heart raced with possibilities, like the engine of a car just waiting to roar to life. Emily walked in, her hair tumbling around her shoulders in soft waves. "Morning, Dad," she said, her voice light, but Jack noticed the slight tremble underneath. Was she still feeling the pressure of their recent triumph? He wanted to ask but hesitated, not wanting to break the delicate silence that wrapped around them. "Hey, he replied, pouring a cup of coffee. It smelled rich and inviting, comforting in a world that felt shaky. He took a deep breath, steeling himself. "About that check." She sat down across from him, her fingers playing with the edge of the table, tracing patterns in the wood. "I know it's a lot." "It's not just the money," Jack interrupted gently, his voice steady. "It's what it represents, the love, the hard work. You've turned something small into something amazing, and that's incredible. Emily's eyes brightened at the compliment, and a small smile broke through. Yet Jack could see the worry lurking just behind it, like the dark clouds that occasionally rolled into their sunny suburb. But Dad, the gossip. People are saying things, she murmured, looking away, her joy dimming. Jack sighed, the weight of the world pressing down again. Let them talk, Em. They don't know what we've been through. You've worked hard for everything. She nodded slowly, but there was still a storm behind her eyes. They both knew it wasn't just about the brooch anymore. It was about their lives being turned upside down and the expectations that came with newfound wealth. Do you think it'll ever get better? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Who was he to answer that? Jack felt a pang of helplessness. We'll make it better, he asserted, more to convince himself than her. We just have to stick together and not be swayed by what others think. You have me, Em. We're a team. She looked at him, and for a moment, they shared an unspoken understanding, as if the trials ahead could be faced hand in hand. Could their bond truly conquer everything around them? Just then the doorbell rang, jolting them both. Jack rose to his feet, muscles tense with unease. Peering through the window, he saw a face he hadn't expected. Mrs. Parker, their neighbor, famous for her unwavering opinions and sharp tongue, stood on the porch. Something in Jack's gut twisted. Stay here, he told Emily softly, though the twinge of doubt told him he might need her support. As he opened the door, Mrs. Parker's eyes widened slightly, and he braced himself for the onslaught of judgment he anticipated. Mr. Davis, she started, her voice sharp yet layered with something else, maybe apprehension. Can we talk? I think we need to clear the air. Jack glanced back to Emily, who had picked up her phone, trying to act nonchalant but failing miserably. He turned his attention back to Mrs. Parker and nodded, his mind racing with what could come next. What's on your mind? He asked, his voice steady, despite the uncertainty swirling inside. As Mrs. Parker stepped forward, Jack wondered if this conversation would be a turning point or the opening of yet another painful chapter. What did she want? Would this be an attempt to mend fences, or simply another round of pointed judgment? In that moment, Jack realized that sometimes the past doesn't let go easily. And yet, here they stood, on the edge of something that could change everything. The air crackled with tension, and as the door swung wider, Jack's heart drummed in anticipation. What was she about to say? Mrs. Parker stood there, her expression shifting from stern to something softer. Puzzled Jack. I came to apologize, she said, her voice low and almost tremulous. I've been quite harsh recently. Jack's brow furrowed, surprised by her admission. Apologize? He echoed, caught off guard. As the heavy air of disbelief hovered, he tried to read her face for signs of insincerity. Yes, she continued, her eyes darting toward the ground for a brief moment before locking onto his. I judged too quickly. I heard about the brooch, how much the sale brought in. I thought it might have changed you. My daughter's heart hasn't changed, Jack said firmly. Yet he felt himself softening. You don't know what she has been through to get here. Mrs. Parker nodded, her features softening as she regarded him more closely. I do understand that hard work is at play. I just can't help my curiosity. She seemed genuinely contrite, her earlier sharpness tempered. It's easy to jump to conclusions in this neighborhood, whispering behind closed doors. Jack remembered the hushed conversations he'd overheard while grilling in the backyard or cutting the lawn, each snide remark cutting deeper than the last. Believe me, Mrs. Parker, we've faced enough backlash without adding fuel to that fire. She paused, releasing a long breath. I suppose I was just upset that things were changing so fast. I didn't want to lose the tight-knit community we've built. Jack sensed a flicker of understanding pass between them. Change can be scary, but it can also bring unexpected blessings. Like new friendships, he replied, trying to bridge the gap that had sprung up between them. Perhaps if we allow it, Mrs. Parker replied, a ghost of a smile forming. I'd like to help you if you'll let me. I have some contacts who might lend a hand, if you're looking to invest the money wisely. Jack's heart swelled with a mix of surprise and hope. Are you offering to help? He asked, trying to absorb the weight of her words. This was not the usual Mrs. Parker he had known. Yes, I know a lot of people in the neighborhood, and maybe if we come together rather than keep to ourselves. She trailed off, her sincerity unmasking the vulnerability beneath her usual bravado. Emily appeared, her face a blend of curiosity and uncertainty. "What's going on?" she asked, glancing back and forth between the two adults. Jack felt a surge of protectiveness. "We're just talking about making things better," he said, inviting her into this new hopeful space. Mrs. Parker stepped forward, her tone softening as she addressed Emily. "Honey, I've learned that it's important to support each other, especially when life throws change at us." Tension slowly gave way to a fragile bond. "Thanks for saying that," Emily murmured, her sincerity evident. Jack couldn't help but feel grateful, a stirring of warmth weaving through the remnants of their recent turmoil. But just then, a loud clattering from the other side of the house interrupted. Jack's heart sank. Was that the sound of the front door slamming? What if it was the landlord, flipping out over the rumors that spread even faster than the truth? "I'm sorry, but I think we need to check that," he said, suddenly uneasy. Mrs. Parker nodded. "Of course. Let us see what that is." As they moved towards the sound, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this change, however small, might spark other unexpected challenges. Life had a way of testing the resolve of even the strongest bonds. When they reached the living room, they found a chaotic scene. A delivery truck had pulled up and left a mountain of boxes at their doorstep. Jack's stomach twisted again. Who had ordered so much stuff? What did this mean for their fragile status? As reality set in, a sense of foreboding crept in. Was this a blessing? Or were they just inviting chaos back into their lives? Before they could process, an unexpected figure emerged from behind the boxes, grinning widely. "What's going on, Team Davis?" Jack's heart sank again. His brother, Luke, who had been off the radar for months, stood there with an energy that could light up a room. And with him temptation loomed. Jack's breath hitched at the sight of Luke. He hadn't expected to see him again, not after everything. The last time they spoke had been tense, filled with bitterness and unspoken words. He glanced at Emily, who wore a mix of confusion and caution. "Luke," Jack managed, the name feeling foreign on his tongue. "What are you doing here?" Luke stepped forward, his grin wide and contagious, but Jack could see a flicker of something else behind those cheerful eyes. Was it desperation? "I had to come back. Things got pretty crazy out there, but I missed you guys. I brought some things." "Lots of things," he said, gesturing to the mountain of boxes. Curiosity tugged at Jack, but he couldn't help the knot of dread tightening in his chest. "What do you mean, things?" "Just some stuff I thought could help," Luke replied, his tone almost nonchalant. "You know, for your grand vision. I figured with the sale and all, you guys might want to start fresh." Jack exchanged a glance with Mrs. Parker. Her brows knitted together in concern as she listened closely. There was something off about this. It all felt too convenient, like a sudden storm brewing on the horizon. Emily stepped forward, her young heart beating with excitement mixed with confusion. "What is it? What did you bring?" Luke crouched down by one of the boxes, dramatically pulling out a new gaming console, brightly lit and glimmering. "This, and some other stuff. TV furniture, things to help you guys settle in style." Jack's mouth opened, but the words wouldn't come. They hadn't needed any of this. They were trying to make do, working through their struggles as a family. "Luke, we can't just take things like this." "I'm just trying to help, Jack," Luke said, a small edge creeping into his voice. "Why are you acting like I'm the enemy? I come back with presents and you're all suspicious?" Mrs. Parker stepped in, her polite demeanor shifting. "I think it's wonderful that you want to lend a hand, but Jack's right to be concerned. You disappeared for so long. What changed?" Luke's grin faltered for a moment, replaced by a shadow that darted across his face. "I was doing my own thing, but I'm here now. Let us not dwell on the past. Think of what all this can mean for you, for your family," he urged, sweeping a hand over the enticing pile of boxes. Jack felt a rush of frustration. Luke had a talent for making the simple sound grand, and for masking the truth behind glitter and charm. Deep down, he felt the need to protect his family from the invisible strings that seemed tied to Luke, strings that could pull them back into old patterns. "Emily, why don't you help Mrs. Parker with the boxes?" Jack suggested, his tone firm but gentle. He wanted to keep his daughter away from the chaos that might bring more uncertainty. "Wait, Dad. I want to see what else he has," she protested, eyes lighting up. "It's okay," Mrs. Parker reassured her, guiding her away. We can take a look together. Jack turned to Luke, pouring every ounce of resolve into his voice. If you're here to help, great. But I need to know this isn't some attempt to pull us back into a whirlwind. We're trying to rebuild. Luke raised his hands in mock surrender, the glint of charm returning. Fine. I'm just offering a hand, Jack. But believe me, I'm back for good this time. Jack eyed him warily. There was something unsettling about the way Luke's eyes sparkled with mischief. We'll see about that, Jack muttered, unsure if he believed him. Just then a small crowd began gathering outside, drawn by the ruckus. Neighbors peered over the fence, eyes wide with curiosity. A voice cried out from the back, "What is happening, Davis family? Are you starting a shop here?" Embarrassment washed over Jack. What did this mean for everything they had worked for? He could feel the weight of expectations pressing down, not just from Luke but from the community. As he looked out at their neighbors, uncertain whispers swirled through the air. He wished for a moment of peace, a simple goodbye to the chaos of the past. But chaos was right there, looming ever closer with Luke at its center. And with that, a burning question nagged at Jack's mind: was this the start of something new? Or just another chance for old wounds to reopen? He felt a familiar stab of doubt settle into his heart, sending a chill down his spine. How long could they keep everything together? When Luke let out a booming laugh, the crowd erupted into chuckles, and Jack couldn't shake the feeling that their lives just got a lot more complicated. Jack's heart raced as he surveyed the scene unfolding around him. The crowd's laughter contrasted sharply with his swirling thoughts. Luke, bathed in the evening light, seemed to draw everyone in with his magnetism, while Jack felt the walls of his carefully constructed world starting to buckle. "Come on, Jack. Lighten up," Luke called, flashing another bright smile. "This is the best day ever. We're here to celebrate." But the words felt empty in Jack's ears, like a sugary frosting on a cake that was all but rotten inside. He glanced at Emily, who was now giggling with Mrs. Parker as they rifled through the boxes. There was a look of pure joy on Emily's face, one that Jack hadn't seen in a long time. It twisted his insides because he wanted to let her enjoy the moment, but he couldn't shake the dread that shadowed every laugh that slipped from Luke's lips. "What's in it for you, Luke?" Jack found himself questioning, unable to keep the protective edge from his voice. "Why now? Why here?" Luke pushed himself up from the box, feigning innocence. "It's just I wanted to surprise you all. I thought you could use it after everything. You're like family to me, Jack." "Family," Jack repeated, testing the word as if it were a bitter pill on his tongue. "Family doesn't show up after months with a truckload of gifts." The smile on Luke's face dimmed, though his eyes gleamed with something Jack couldn't decipher. "You're right. I fell off the map. But I'm back. I want." Emily's excited voice cut through their tension. "Dad, look. He has a karaoke machine. Can we keep this?" Her hands clutched the device like a treasure. Jack's heart softened momentarily as he saw how her eyes sparkled with hope. But then it hardened again, refusing to let the warmth thaw his guarded heart. "No, Emily. We can't just." "But Dad, this could be fun. We could have a family night," she persisted, her voice rising with excitement. "Just a second, Em." Jack turned back to Luke, frustration boiling just beneath the surface. "What's the catch?" Luke bristled slightly, the charm slipping away. "The catch? There is no catch. I'm back here trying to make up for lost time. This is my way of helping." Jack took a deep breath, pushing away the mix of regret and loyalty that tangled in his chest. "You think this is fixing everything? Just stuff? Just furniture and games? You don't get it, do you?" The air between them crackled with tension. Luke hesitated, crossing his arms. "I thought you'd be happy to see me. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe you were." Jack shot back, deep down wishing he could handle this differently. He didn't want to hurt Luke, but the stakes felt too high. "What's happening here?" Mrs. Parker intervened gently, sensing the fraying conversation. Before Jack could respond, the crowd outside continued to murmur, growing taller like a wave about to crash. Jack could feel the pressure mounting, weighed down by the small-town gossip desperately trying to get a glimpse of their lives. Taking a step back, he looked at his neighbors, feeling exposed and vulnerable. What were they thinking? A disgraced figure from the past showing up, trying to rewrite history with a box of distractions. A chill ran down Jack's spine. And just then Luke's laughter cut through again, louder this time. Who's ready for a karaoke showdown? Loser buys the drinks. A splash of enthusiasm from Luke, incorporating his past bravado, flared up again. Emily squealed in delight, not aware of the brewing storm her father faced. Jack's heart sank, conflicted between wanting to shield his daughter and the sinking feeling that Luke's charisma could easily sway her. Jack glanced down at Emily, desperate to protect her from all this chaos. Listen, Em. Why don't we take a break? Let us step aside for a minute. Do I have to? She pouted, unable to understand what her father was sensing. Yes, you do, he replied, firm but softening just for her as they turned to walk away. Jack couldn't shake off the feeling that this was just the beginning. What had begun as a slight irritation was now a gaping hole in their lives, one he couldn't ignore. And just as Jack felt the first tremors of fear about the repercussions of Luke's return, he noticed a flicker of something ominous in the crowd, a face he hadn't expected to see. A face that could unravel everything they had fought for. Is that? He whispered, his breath catching. What exactly had Luke brought back with him? And why did he suddenly feel like the ground beneath him was shifting again, threatening to swallow him whole? Jack's heart raced as he stepped outside, the cool air hitting his face sharply. He scanned the crowd, his eyes darting from one familiar face to another. But it was the last one he wanted to see, that one person who shouldn't be there, right now, under any circumstances. Rachel. The name escaped him like a breath he didn't mean to take. She stood there across the parking lot, her presence as striking as a lighthouse in a fog. Her hair tousled in the breeze, she looked both graceful and uncertain, as if she weren't quite sure what to do with herself in that moment. Memories flooded back, uninvited, the laughter they shared, the family they once dreamed of together. Jack, is that you? Rachel called, her voice breaking the tension hanging in the air. Jack didn't respond immediately. He was busy battling the whirlwind of emotions that threatened to unearth everything he had buried deep inside. Dad, who is she? Emily tugged on his shirt, her innocence a stark contrast to the chaos brewing within him. Her wide eyes flickered between Jack and Rachel, as she tried to piece together the puzzling situation. Just a friend, Jack managed, forcing a smile he didn't feel. But deep inside he knew that wasn't the truth. Rachel had been so much more a piece of his past that he couldn't simply label as friend. Your friend looks upset, Emily said innocently, her brow furrowing. Are you okay? Jack knelt down to her level, desperate to shield her from the reality crashing into their little world. Sweetheart, can you hang tight for a minute? Just wait over there, all right? He pointed to the group of kids playing with the unused karaoke machine, a way to distract her from the unease swirling around them. Sure, Dad, she replied, but there was hesitation in her eyes, as if she could sense the storm brewing. Jack straightened up, torn between the past and the present, and approached Rachel. There was no escaping this confrontation. What are you doing here? He asked, his voice low, but the weight of the question echoed loudly in the air. She shifted her weight, biting her lip. I heard about the party. I thought maybe I could help. Her gaze dropped to the ground, and Jack could see the conflict in her eyes, the desire to connect battling against the years of hurt that had built a wall between them. Help? With what? With all of this? He gestured dismissively to the crowd and the chaotic energy that filled the space. You haven't been around, Rachel. It's too late for that. I know I haven't. I've made mistakes. But I'm back now. Can't we just? Her voice broke, and she looked up, desperation etched across her face. Can't we try to figure things out? Jack's heart ached. They had spent years apart, each moment they shared slowly eroding like the shoreline against crashing waves. At that moment, he felt torn between wanting to shield Emily from the past and wanting to know if he could trust Rachel with the fragile remnants of their former life. Before he could answer, he caught a glimpse of Luke rejoining the outskirts of their conversation, the excitement still buzzing around him. The karaoke machine buzzed in the background. The laughter of their neighbors echoed all around like needles slipping under his skin. Jack felt heat creeping up his neck, as the pressure inside him threatened to explode. Jack. Luke's voice boomed. Come on, man, we can't leave everyone waiting. The joviality in his tone seemed yet another distraction from a reality Jack was just starting to face. Jack turned back to Rachel. We'll talk later, he said softly, then stepped away, feeling a curious wave of guilt wash over him that as he approached the growing crowd, he stole one last glance at Rachel. She stood there, seemingly small yet colossal in his memory, a reminder of everything he had lost and everything he might have to confront again. Back among the guests, Jack struggled to find a balance, the noise surrounding him echoing as loudly as the thunder of his racing heart. He needed to keep Emily safe, to protect what little semblance of normalcy they had. But deep down he wondered if they could truly move forward without acknowledging the past. And just then Luke raised a microphone, grinning. "Who has first for karaoke? Let us make some ridiculous memories, huh?" Jack forced a smile, even as dread clawed at him from the inside. The shadows of the past threatened to spill back into his life like an unwelcome tide. What would he do if Rachel faced him again? Yet it didn't matter, did it? Not while Luke's charismatic pull filled the room like a magnet. For a moment Jack wished he could drown out everything, just focus on making Emily happy, unaware that the storm was brewing and would soon break. But in the very back of his mind, the question nagged at him like a ghost, whispering fearfully, what if this time it pulls you all under? The laughter and music enveloped Jack as he stepped back into the crowd, but inside he felt anything but cheerful. Luke had energized everyone, and soon the familiar sounds of off-key singing erupted, but Jack found himself unable to join in. He glanced over to where Emily had settled, absorbed in her own world, laughing with the other kids. She had such a bright smile, the kind that could chase away the darkest shadows. Yet, there was Rachel still lingering in the back of his mind. The memories of their life together flared like a flickering candle, warm, inviting, yet painfully fragile. Each vocal performance from the karaoke machine threatened to match the intensity of the turmoil brewing inside of him. What did she really want? Did she think a couple of moments would erase the years apart? He knew better than to believe in fairy tales. Life didn't work that way. "Jack, come on. Join me." Luke's exuberant shout pulled him back from the brink. With a half-hearted nod, he moved toward the makeshift stage, surrounding the microphone that Luke held with enthusiasm. The crowd cheered as Jack stepped closer, their expectant smiles momentarily distracting him from his internal conflict. "Let us see what we got here." Luke began rifling through the karaoke catalog like a DJ spinning records, and Jack's heart sank further. What if someone picked a song that would drown him in nostalgia? Jack bolstered himself, pretending to enjoy the energy around him. But, despite putting on a brave face, his thoughts kept drifting back to Rachel. She was just standing there, almost invisible in a crowd bursting with life. Why did she have to show up now? Couldn't she see that things were finally getting better? Then Luke cut through his thoughts again. How about a duet? Something classic? The crowd roared their approval at the idea, and Jack felt a wave of anxiety crash over him. A duet? He couldn't face that with Rachel. Just then, unmistakably loud, he heard Emily's excited voice calling after him. "Dad, come on. I want you to sing with me." Her enthusiasm shone through like sunshine breaking through a tangle of clouds. Jack couldn't refuse that kind of joy. It would be selfish not to share this moment with her. He walked over, knelt beside her, and agreed to the duet. Emily chose a song, an upbeat pop tune that wouldn't normally tug at his heartstrings. Jack felt a flicker of hope. They worked their way into the rhythm together, and amidst the laughter of their neighbors, just for a moment Jack let go of the pain. He sang, he danced, and watched his daughter beam with pride. But when the song ended and the applause rolled over them, Jack felt the hairs on the back of his neck rise. He turned slowly to see Rachel standing nearby, her expression a mix of admiration and something else, regret perhaps, or longing. It felt like a reminder that the past never truly faded away. It simply waited for a moment of vulnerability to step back into his life. "Great job," Rachel called, the distance between them trembling with unsaid things. "You two sounded amazing." Jack's smile faltered as he forced his gaze away. The warmth of the moment with Emily froze into a knot of confusion in his chest. Could he allow Rachel back into his life? "Thanks," he replied, his voice steady but small. Just then, something seemed to shift in the air. An unspoken challenge hung between them like a curtain. How did he take a step forward when the past loomed so large and unresolved? For the second time, he was faced with that haunting question: what if acknowledging this moment meant opening a door to the past? But even as he wondered this, a familiar song echoed from the speakers, one they had once danced to together. Jack felt his heart race anew, but this time, with a different kind of fear. Could they really figure things out? Or would this all lead to more heartbreak? Jack's pulse quickened as he turned to assess the crowd. Would he be brave enough to step forward? The night was thick with tension, and the answer still evaded him. The crowd's laughter echoed around Jack, growing louder like a beating drum against his chest. He could see Emily's enthusiasm radiating from her. The pure innocence of her joy made it hard to keep his own turmoil hidden. But as he faced Rachel, it felt like all that energy dimmed, replaced by a thick fog of uncertainty. The moments they once cherished swept through his mind, taunting him with echoes of happiness and whispers of regret. Luke, who had been talking to a few friends nearby, caught Jack's eye. He lifted an eyebrow and nodded towards the karaoke machine, as if he sensed the charged air between Jack and Rachel. Jack swallowed hard. Should he break the tension with another song? Or dive deeper into the feelings that still unsettled him? "Hey Emily," he called back, desperate for a distraction. "What do you want to sing next?" Emily jumped up, her eyes sparkling. "Let us pick a happy one, Dad. Like the one about dancing on a cloud." He chuckled, grateful for her innocence. How could he resist? Together they chose another upbeat song, something fun and light. He hoped it would drown out the complications lurking nearby. But as they took the stage again, Jack found himself glancing back at Rachel. She stood under the soft glow of the fairy lights, a bittersweet smile playing on her lips. The music kicked in, and for a fleeting moment, Jack lost himself in the rhythm, encouraged by Emily's infectious laughter. Their voices harmonized, sending waves of warmth through him, just as he remembered they would on good days with Rachel. The cheering crowd faded, and it was just Jack and his daughter, a moment of pure bliss. As they finished, applause washed over them, igniting a fire within. Emily beamed, her excitement palpable. But Jack's mind began to spiral again. He turned toward Rachel again, as if drawn by an invisible thread. She seemed both a beacon and a storm, teasing him with possibilities wrapped in the web of their tangled past. "Dad," Emily tugged at his hand, "can we do another one? I want another dance-off." But Jack hesitated. "Let us take a break, Em." He steadied himself, the realization of how fragile his own happiness felt gnawing at him. He stepped away from the karaoke area, finding a quieter corner where the chatter dimmed. In the distance, he could still hear bits of laughter, that joyful chaos of the evening. But here it felt different, a moment of solitude against a backdrop of noise. Rachel approached cautiously, her gaze fixed on him. He clenched his fists, trying to find the right words. Why now? After all this time? The question spilled out before he could stop it. Part of him wanted the confrontation to end. The other wanted clarity. She paused, as if searching for something in his eyes. "I didn't know I would see you tonight," Rachel started, her voice steady, yet laden with emotion. "But I couldn't stay away. I thought maybe there was still something here. Between us." Jack felt his heart race, the air thickening around them. Could it be true? Did she mean it? After everything, he began, feeling the weight of old wounds tied to every word he spoke. "Can we really just pick up where we left off? How do we even begin?" "I don't know," she admitted softly, but there was hope in her eyes. "But I think it starts with being honest. With ourselves and with each other." The weight of her words sat heavy in the air. He felt a flicker of understanding in the pit of his stomach. Could he really consider giving them another chance? The moment tangled between nostalgia and possibility, a chance to rewrite their story. But just then, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd, pulling him momentarily from his thoughts. Emily's laughter flowed toward them like a lifeline, and suddenly Jack faced a decision. Would he dare to unlock the door to the past? Or keep it closed and secure, choosing to protect the new life he crafted with Emily? Jack's pulse raced, tangled in emotions he longed to escape yet felt drawn to confront. He looked into Rachel's eyes, feeling the weight of unspoken words and countless memories. Should he take the plunge? His breath caught. What lay ahead if he did? With anxiety promising new journeys, Jack took a deep breath. Would tonight unveil more than mere songs? Could it lead to reconciliation or heartbreak? In the crowded, vibrant room filled with music and memories, the next song blared to life, their song, the one they once danced to like no one else existed. Could this night be the crescendo they both needed? Could they find their way back? Or would they forever remain lost in echoes of the past? Jack's gaze flicked back to Rachel as the music swelled around them. The first note struck up familiar chords, the kind that conjured past weekends lost in laughter. It was their song, a tune that ignited 1,000 old memories, each more precious than the last. But the warmth of nostalgia was quickly met with a chill of reality. What had once felt so simple now seemed impossibly complex. Emily bounded back into the room, a burst of energy with wild tangles of hair, pulling Jack from his reverie. "Come on, Dad. Dance with me." She took his hand, tugging him toward the stage. The way she lit up in moments of joy helped anchor Jack when the waves of uncertainty crashed over him. He took a step forward, but his feet felt heavy. The laughter and clinking glasses around them blended into a comforting background hum. Yet Jack's stomach twisted. I don't know, Em. Please." Emily pouted, her big eyes shimmering in the soft light. Jack couldn't resist. He couldn't let the weight of his own confusion dull her sparkle. With a nod, Jack let the music pull him to the front once more. He scooped Emily up into his arms as they reached the stage, crashing down into a joyful sway. Laughter erupted from the crowd, their smiles igniting a flicker of warmth in his chest. Jack spun his daughter playfully, and for a moment, everything felt uncomplicated, but as they danced, his eyes wandered toward Rachel. She stood a few feet away, her expression unreadable, lost somewhere between longing and apprehension. The joy pressed against his heart like a vice, knowing it was time to face the truth. Emily giggled and clapped, losing herself in the beat. Jack's heart was a loud drum in his ears, battling against the rhythm of the song. It ripped through him. He had to ask Rachel for clarity to understand if the lingering connection they shared was worth exploring once more. As the song came to an end, he set Emily down gently, her feet still bouncing with residual excitement. "You were amazing," she squealed, pulling him into a quick hug. Jack's gaze locked on Rachel, who seemed to hesitate. But something stirred in her expression, courage or fear. He couldn't tell, but it pulled him closer. "Hey, Rachel," he called over the fading music. "Can we talk?" She nodded, her shoulders relaxing just a fraction, and together they stepped away from the lively throng, moving toward the quieter side of the venue where a warm glow illuminated their faces. Every pulse of uncertainty, every thud of regret, surged within him. He had to know what she felt. "Jack," Rachel began hesitantly, "I don't want to confuse you. I know things aren't easy, but I felt hopeful seeing you again. I thought maybe what?" He pressed, his heart pounding. "You thought we could just start fresh like nothing happened?" "No, that's not what I mean." Her voice trembled, heavy with emotion. "I just thought it could be good for us to explore the possibilities. I still care about you." Jack's breath caught. "Caring isn't enough to rebuild trust, Rachel." "I know," she whispered, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But I'd like to try if you're willing to." He looked down, the conflicting emotions clawing at him. Was he really ready to re-enter that world? A piece of his heart still belonged to Emily. Yet there was a flicker of hope in the air. Could that hope outshine the shadows of their past? His heart raced. Just then, Emily's laughter rang out, breaking the tension like a flicked switch. She ran over, eyes wide. "Are you guys going to sing together?" Jack glanced back at Rachel, their gazes locking in unspoken understanding and lingering doubt. "Should we?" he asked, his stomach nodding once more. Rachel smiled softly, her vulnerability radiating warmth. "If you think it's worth it, then yes. Let us take this leap together." Just as they both started to move toward the stage, another revelation pricked at Jack's heart, a realization that maybe it wasn't just the past that needed addressing, but the future they could build together. Could they truly repair the broken pieces? As he stepped into the spotlight next to Rachel, that familiar tune echoed through the crowd once more. But this time it felt different, more than just nostalgia. It felt like a second chance. Could they really transform this moment into something beautiful and new? Or would they find themselves lost in the echoes of yesterday once again? Jack felt a rush of emotions as he and Rachel stood on the stage together, the spotlight illuminating their tense yet hopeful faces. The crowd surged with anticipation, and for the first time in a long while, he felt a flicker of courage. This wasn't just about the past anymore. It was about the here and now, and the shared future they could explore. He glanced at Emily in the audience, her eyes shining bright with excitement. The sweet innocence of her laughter wrapped around him like a warm blanket, reminding him why he wanted to succeed not just for himself, but for her. Turning back to Rachel, he saw her breathing heavily, a mix of nervousness and anticipation. The familiar song began to swirl around them, a melody that held both the weight of their shared history and the possibility of new beginnings. Jack took a deep breath, allowing the music to wash over him. They swayed gently as the first notes filled the air, and for just a moment, he allowed himself to forget the chaos that had been their lives. "We can do this," Rachel murmured, her voice barely audible above the rising melody. Jack nodded, clutching the microphone tightly. "Together we can," he replied, feeling a surge of determination. As they began to sing, their voices intertwined like vines, each note forging a connection that had been buried deep but never completely lost. The crowd cheered, urging them on, and as the lyrics unfolded, Jack found himself pouring all of his hope, fears, and aspirations into each word. As they reached the chorus, he stole a glance at Emily, who was dancing with abandon, unburdened by the weight of the world. Her laughter filled the space, and in that moment Jack knew this was right. For the first time in ages he felt free from judgment, from the whispers of the past, and from the uncertainty that clouded his heart. In the midst of the song, Jack felt Rachel's hand slip into his. It wasn't just a gesture. It was a promise. Suddenly, the weight of their history no longer felt like a suffocating shadow, but rather a sturdy foundation upon which they could rebuild. He squeezed her hand gently, feeling the strength surge between them. As they reached the final refrain, the crowd erupted in applause. Jack turned to see his daughter clapping with her whole heart, and a radiant smile broke across her face. She was proud not just of him but of the connection they had shared on that stage. In that instant, he realized that love, familial or otherwise, could triumph over obstacles. With the final notes lingering in the air, the cheers of their neighbors washed over Jack and Rachel like a tidal wave of approval. In that beautiful chaos, Jack found the courage to embrace the unfolding journey with Rachel while maintaining the bond he cherished with Emily. And as they stepped off the stage, hand in hand, the warmth of the community washed over them, restoring the sense of belonging that they all craved. Jack turned to Rachel, vulnerability evident in both their expressions. "I want to try," he said. Knowing words held power more than promises, they offered a new direction. "I do too," Rachel replied softly, her eyes glistening with hope. As they mingled back into the crowd, Jack felt relieved, as if he had finally freed himself from a weight he didn't even know he was carrying. The air around them buzzed with energy, hopes rekindled and friendships melting old suspicions away. It was a fresh start, one filled with the promise that together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead. Jack glanced at Emily one last time, her cheeks flushed with happiness, sharing in the joy of the moment, completely unaware of the intricacies of adult life just yet. She was his compass, guiding him toward redemption and growth, towards understanding and acceptance. They were a family, and together they would weather any storm. Now, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, Jack felt lighter. Surrounded by laughter, love, and the echoes of a beautiful new song, he realized that life was about the connections he forged and the love he grew. It was time to embrace the path ahead, filled not with fear of the past, but with the hope of a future they would build together. And with a full heart, Jack joined his family in laughter, knowing that this was just the beginning of their new story. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It really matters and helps us grow. Comment your thoughts and feelings about this ending. Did it touch your heart? Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread the love. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.